The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head, premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is Out Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. A little bit of a delay of game there. I just wanted to honor Chris Brooks. Start the show 20 seconds into the music. Oh, sorry, I got choked up. Oh, a little bit of breakfast.
You're missing Chris. You got choked up.
I'm missing Chris Brooks, and I got choked up. Good morning. Welcome in. Wow. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. Streaming live for you on the Out of Bounds radio app and the Zone1059.com. Want to thank you for going to Apple Podcast and listening to the Out of Bounds Show. I think we had our biggest month ever the last 30 days. I have to go back and look, but that's a credit to you. And we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. That'd be great for us. When you go to Apple Podcasts, search the Out of Bounds Show. We're also on Spotify, Podbean, and, all the other crazy places, too. Well, of course, the podcast. You can find the podcast on the Out of Bounds radio app. Show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. An award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club will be at Pearl River Resort on Friday. Looking forward to that. I guess I've got to win some more money. So we'll see the crew there. First time in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. That'll be a good time for sure. You can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle @BowBounds. And the text line is 601-885-3776. 885-3776. And the text line is brought to you by AgUp.com. Mississippi Ag, that's where you find your next John Deere tractor to manage your land. That's very, very important, right? Managing your land with America's tractor, John Deere, AgUp.com, Mississippi Ag, 16 locations. Well, so yesterday until, last night, I thought that we would lead with Ole Miss at Tennessee, Alabama at Mississippi State, maybe sprinkle in a little Florida at LSU, and Kentucky at Georgia. That's a hell of a lineup.
Big slate.
That's a big boy lineup. And no other conference can produce what we did last weekend, much less this weekend. But then while most of you and we were watching Monday Night Football, it broke that John Gruden would resign as the Raiders head coach after racist and homophobic emails were uncovered. And an investigation, really, Blake, into the Washington football team.
Correct.
And this was while John Gruden was with Monday Night Football and ESPN/Disney. I think most of you know this. After Gruden coached at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he spent a decade in broadcasting. Kind of became the, believe it or not, the face of NFL broadcasting. I mean, Romo came later, and a lot of people loved him. If you listen to this show, you knew that I didn't really get all into that, and you know that we think that he's incredibly overrated as a head coach, although he'll never coach again, nor have anything to do with the NFL after the New York Times, among others. And look, this was leaked to them through some other parties. But after the New York Times reported that Gruden, during a 7-year period, emailed Bruce Allen, a lot of that name at that time was the Washington football team president, and Gruden sent homophobic and racist emails, and he resigned. Well, he was going to get fired, and Mark Davis allowed him to resign, and so he's done with. I'm sorry, I keep saying Las Vegas Raiders. My bad. Thank you for helping me there. Did I just reference Oakland twice in that 3-minute dialogue? That's I got it. It's early, and I got to get focused. So, Gruden's football career comes to an end abruptly, not through wins and losses, but through anti-gay language and through racist emails.
Yeah. And anti-activism. I think that's another piece that was.
He did mention. He did a lot of. I mean, I if you want to run the whole, I mean, he went after a lot of people and things in the emails over 7 years.
And the word that comes into play here that Ole Miss fans and Mississippi State fans will appreciate, because we've seen, not for the same reasons, but similar wording come out with a head coach here in the state, a pattern.
That's right.
Of disrespect and bigotry is
right.
the phrase that they use when announcing why John Gruden's being let go, or mutually they're parting ways, with $60 million left on that 10-year, $100 million contract, a portion of which I would imagine John Gruden will be walking away with, given the way this has all come around. So
he will.
He was owed $60 million. He probably will
sure
get
they did
some.
a deal there at the end, the final hours, however that worked out with attorneys between the Las Vegas Raiders and John Gruden's personal attorneys.
Yeah. But it's not a good look for the NFL. It's not a good look, obviously, for John Gruden and the Raiders, and it's why there was a quick trigger.
Yeah.
Because the NFL has been proactive in pushing
activism.
Yeah, its agenda of we are going to be tolerant and pro the people, not the powerful, right? That's kind of been their new motto. And the Raiders have the first openly active homosexual player on their roster, Carl Nassib, at defensive end, and they obviously have. Yeah, who cares?
Nobody really cares.
Yeah,
I mean,
no. It doesn't affect him playing every Sunday, right? Like, so it is a thing.
I understand.
And they
were in
also
a meatballian sport, and I have referenced Gruden as kind of the face
of meatballism.
Of meatballian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, he is. So.
He much like Ed Orgeron. John Gruden is the same person he was in 2003 as he is now.
John Gruden's the same person he was at 19 years old.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
And so you're seeing that come forth, as Tashawn Reed with The Athletic wrote in an article last night that you can go check out on theathletic.com today. You know, your locker room is made up of predominantly minorities. You have the first openly homosexual player on your roster, and you've got guys who have been a part of the national anthem kneel down. Another thing that Gruden was openly, against in these emails. He lost the locker room as soon as this came public. There was no option.
No,
he had to go.
Yeah. Well, he should have gone either way, but
correct.
Yes, he would have lost the locker room. Now, ESPN said the comments are clearly repugnant under any circumstance. And the Wall Street Journal reported Friday that Gruden, in an email to Allen, said all sorts of things, but Blake, they allowed him to coach on Sunday. I guess what they were continuing to do was to gather information, and the NFL corporate offices were working with Mark Davis and his executive team with the Las Vegas Raiders to come up with a plan, and then they were going to present it to Gruden, basically saying, you're out.
This all started with the one email regarding DeMaurice Smith where he made a racist remark about the NFL Players Association president.
Right.
That followed into, a stack of emails, a dictionary.
Over 7 years.
Dictionaries worth of emails.
And the emails came to light during the NFL's investigation into the workplace misconduct of the Washington football team, where Dan Snyder's been on the ropes for years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and so there could be more. There will be more. Big board coming up next. Welcome in. Good morning on a Tuesday.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
What's on the big board? What's on the big board?
All right, good morning. Welcome in. The big board today is brought to you by Breezy Oaks Ranch. BreezyOaksRanch.com. Great selection of Wagyu beef, premium beef, heritage pork, everything from bacon to fillets and ribeyes. Delicious sausage. BreezyOaksRanch.com. Farmers from Canton and Baden, they're doing a great job. They'll ship to your door. You got plenty of time this week to have it for the weekend. That's BreezyOaksRanch.com. Mississippi farmers delivering Wagyu beef, premium beef, and heritage pork. Blake, we love it. Hamburger meat, sausage, bacon, steaks, pork chops, all at BreezyOaksRanch.com.
Go to Mackie and the crew whipping it up over there, man. You can taste the Mississippi in that meat.
That's right.
I tell you what.
We're going to have to get them back in.
Yes, working on it. I don't want to shock you. Farms tend to not take days off. Animals want to eat every day. I don't know what it is. So we're working on getting Mackie back in studio.
Good. Speaking of studio today, Nick Fulton will join us.
That's right.
At 9:15. We'll give away a couple of tickets, compliments of USA Pawn, to the Alabama-Mississippi State game, their club-level seats.
Ooh.
It will be during that time frame from 9 to 9:30 to where you'll have to jump in on the text line if you want to win a couple of scoreboard-level, club-level seats and compliments of USA Pawn and their 30th anniversary, usapawn.com.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. That's a great giveaway.
That's a great giveaway.
And Will is supposed to be getting some Bloody Mary mix this morning?
Yeah, or he's fired.
Okay. So Will is getting some Bloody Mary mix so that Nick Fulton can also make us a couple of, or I don't know how many, but 3, 4, 5 Bloody Marys later in the morning.
You got to have a little vodka and tomato juice with all the food he's bringing, right? Basically, it's what's going to happen.
Can you imagine what the garnish action's going to be like? Last time he had shrimp, sausage, and all kinds of other things. They're so telling.
He made it sound like he was going on a safari to get these ingredients when he texted over the weekend. I guess, what were we talking about? Bloody Marys last Thursday, I guess, is when we brought it up.
Yeah, I guess so.
And
maybe we tied it into some kind of national
because
day.
we were posting pictures. You posted a picture of when Nick was in here because we were talking about it,
right?
And that's when he got all excited. So I think he's been on safari the last few days, getting exotic garnishes for the Bloody Mary.
Love it. Nick Fulton will join us, USA Pawn, at 9:15 this morning. Mike Detillier, Mike D, will talk John Gruden, the New Orleans Saints, and the LSU Tigers at 8:30 on the Modelo guest line. And unless you've been under a rock, you know that John Gruden resigned because of racist, homophobic language in his emails over a 7-year period to Bruce Allen, among others, were on the emails. Bruce Allen at that time was the president of the Washington football team. So Gruden's one of the biggest names in the NFL the last, 15, 20. He coached Brett Favre. I think he was the QB coach with the Green Bay Packers under Mike Holmgren and was tied into Favre. I think he was cut from the San Francisco 49ers lineage. So many of those guys kind of had some kind of tie to Bill Walsh. And then a lot of those guys took what Bill Walsh did in the 90s, what Bill had done in the 80s, and did different things. Holmgren and Gruden were two of those guys. And then Gruden eventually landed the Raiders job. And then he was traded to Tampa Bay. And that team was set up, without a doubt. And they won a Super Bowl. And then he wasn't really any good. The next, whatever it was, Blake, if you'll pull it up, 4 years.
Ever.
And then he went to ESPN. And he became a huge name and brand.
Yep.
People loved him. People loved him on TV. His shtick resonated with a lot of people. And then, boom, he was hired again. Probably should have been fired even before this. He's had 3 losing seasons with the Las Vegas Raiders and been paid $10 million a year to not turn them around. And his record in December is atrocious.
Abysmal.
It's awful. It's awful. So, through this investigation into the Washington football team, through all of Dan Snyder's nonsense and so on, they uncovered these emails, and he is gone from the Las Vegas Raiders and will never be part of the NFL or college football again.
Yeah, I feel
at 58 years old, which this day and age is relatively young. The way that a lot of people are living, working out, eating, and so on.
He had a good decade left of coaching if he wanted to, but certainly he could have been a prognosticator, a media member for another 10 years after that if he had been healthy. I'm with you. If we see John Gruden's name in the papers, so to speak, it'll be because he either passed away or did something else stupid. He will not be in front of the camera again.
Gone. So
yeah,
that's one of the big stories today. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We are live in the Bank Plus studio. Again, Mike Detillier will stop by at 8:30, NFL Insider. We'll talk some LSU. Did you see some of the comments that Ogeron made? He knows what's at stake. Florida's coming into town, and although Florida's struggling, how much confidence do you have in LSU getting their act together and actually playing good football this weekend against Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators? That's one of the games this weekend.
Vegas would tell you there's no confidence. The Gators are 10.5-point favorite in Death Valley.
And Florida's lost to Kentucky 2 weeks ago at Kentucky for the first time since 1986.
Yeah, to lose in Lexington. Pretty bad.
So, now they beat, they beat Vandy over the weekend 42-0, but that doesn't really matter. Vandy's been beat 62-0, I think, and 42-0 in the last 2 weeks. Is Vandy trying to set, some kind of bar?
They're tanking for first pick next year in the draft. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong league. That's my bad. Sorry.
It is unbelievable. I mean, they've been bad 99% of my life, but they're even worse now. And we've talked about this. This is not good for Mississippi State. It's, Ole Miss has been playing. They played Vandy, 100-something times. And so they've had the opportunity to get many, 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 many W's. Vandy's the worst team in the league. Mississippi State is matched up with Kentucky. They've never been better.
That's correct.
Top 30 talent. Stoops has moved them up 10 spots in recruiting. He's been there for a long time, and it's the continuity and consistency that you don't really see in an SEC program. Outside of Alabama with Saban, and I guess Georgia. Georgia's only had 2 coaches since 2001, Mark Richt and Kirby Smart. Everybody else has made, a lot of the reason because of Saban, has made a bunch of moves and replaced head coach after head coach, which, as you can see at Tennessee,
doesn't work.
It's not a recipe for success, and yet you've got Stoops there that's been there a long time.
What are the odds that Stoops and Dan Mullen create the golden eras at the respective programs that are somewhat identical in the East and West in Mississippi State and Kentucky, and they do it at the same time?
I know. And then the tie between Mitch Barnhart, the AD at Kentucky, and Greg Byrne, Scott Strickland, and John Cohen, they all worked under Mitch Barnhart, right? And Mitch Barnhart's done a hell of a job. I mean, he landed Calipari, he landed Stoops. He's just up there getting rich. I mean, he's like 16 years in or something. Maybe not quite that long. AD at UK. We'll be back in a second. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
Let's do it. This is the SEC, and it's presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone. ESPN. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Want to welcome you in. Thank you for going to Apple Podcasts and searching the Out of Bounds Show. Would love for you to hit subscribe. That'd be really cool for us. If you want to give us a 5-star rating, that'd be great. If you don't like us, you don't have to rate us. That's fine. But Apple Podcasts, search the Out of Bounds Show. Thanks for going back and hitting a segment, a monologue, an interview, whatever it is we're doing. Show me the money. Of course, we could get off on, a food segment, right? Like today, National Gumbo Day. Who thinks that Nick Fulton with USA Pawn should bring us some gumbo at 9:15 this morning?
That's, 100%.
Right? I mean, according to Ross Bjork, let me get a hell yeah, right? So it is National Gumbo Day. Most of you love gumbo. I love gumbo. And we will dance in and around that throughout the morning. Yesterday, I didn't really plug this. We had so much to get to with Ole Miss winning, Bama losing, LSU losing, and kind of where we are in the world of college football midway through somewhat. I forgot to mention that it was also National Sausage Pizza Day. And you know that Sal and Mookie's in Madison and Sal and Mookie's in Jackson has delicious New York-style pizza. And you know that several of their pizzas have delicious sausage on there. Plus, you can get some Blake Breezy Oaks Ranch sausage.
Ooh.
You can cook it, dice it up.
Hello.
Put it on your pizza at the house. And, it's a beautiful thing. So we'll talk a little bit of that, discuss food and entertainment, sports and entertainment throughout the show today. We'll be live from Pearl River Resort Friday. Looking forward to that. They're also going to have an Alabama show. I have to figure out who that is. I just received an email, though, that said I'm doing an interview with somebody from Alabama at some point. And so that'll be cool.
They're still alive over there?
That's a great question.
Roll
I did
Tide,
not
Paul.
reach out to Ryan Fowler.
I did see someone shot someone at the end of that game in Bessinger, Alabama.
That's awful.
For realsies. Like, they got into an argument at the end of the game.
An Auburn and fan was somehow mixed in with
They were arguing about whether
Alabama.
It was literally, the argument was about whether Alabama lost or A&M won.
Oh, my God.
Think about I'm not trying to make light of a situation. It's a terrible situation, but, think about how ridiculous that is.
Good grief. Oh, goodness. Should we just talk gumbo and pizza all day with everything that's coming down?
When was the last time you had really good seafood gumbo? It's been a minute for me.
Really good seafood.
Because that's the go-to
gumbo,
right? Is like a Creole seafood gumbo. Is there another type of gumbo to eat? I don't even know.
I ordered some yesterday. This is funny. I went down and met with a friend at lunch in the beautiful place of Fondren. And I ordered some from Saltines, but they didn't have it ready. They were going to have their big batch ready for the afternoon. They had been hit pretty hard over the weekend.
Gotcha.
They do the crawfish and andouille or something like
good.
that.
It's good, yeah.
So, but man, when I tell you when the last time I had a good cup. 2, Drago's and Howlin' Mouse.
Oh,
remember I told you I've been to Howlin' Mouse
That's right.
twice.
That's right.
Because I've been downtown.
That was like a week or 2 ago. You were at Howlin' Mouse
On a mission.
Yeah.
And so I have to. I mean, that's my old stomping grounds, man. I mean, I grew up in Belhaven, so we were very, very lucky that
they were still,
a lot of the great local restaurants were super close to my neighborhood.
I was gonna say they were still horse and buggy when you were growing up.
Horse
over there,
and
right?
buggy. That's how I got to Christo's. That's how I got to Kiefer's, and that's how I got to Howlin' Mouse, and that's how I got to.
You had to keep your whale fat on you so you could light your lamps.
That's right. CS's, Christo's, Howlin' Mouse, and Kiefer's. I took a horse and buggy. Actually,
Giddy up on there, darling.
For a while, I rode my bike until I got a car.
That part is cool. I obviously grew up in I grew up in Ridgeland, but went to school at I didn't have the days of like that style neighborhood where commercial meets residential and they're married. I didn't exist in that. Mine was purely residential.
Right.
You know?
For me, it was pretty magical to be able to go to these places as a kid. I also, even though these are small colleges, when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, I lived on the campus of Belhaven and Millsaps.
Yeah, which felt like another world. I mean, it felt like a totally different place.
It's all I knew. I mean, I was in and out of buildings. I was in and out of the gym. I was in and out of Veteran. Look, I lived at Veterans Memorial Stadium on Saturdays watching MSU, Ole Miss, and Southern Miss.
It's because you could still sneak in.
Of course, I called Jackson State. I called Alcorn State when they played Valley. You know, I did all that. But we rode our bikes up there.
That's because it was the Wild West.
Yeah.
Like it's like the story of the guy who got onto the field for the Packers Super Bowl and stole Lombardi's hat. Like that. That's a cool story.
That's something you would do.
Yeah, but I would have had to have been alive in the 50s. Like that's the problem.
You
it's
may have had your Eagle Scout badge
revoked. Yeah, or there's another badge for that. It's the hat stealing badge.
Oh.
No, but like it was the Wild West. The rules did not apply back then. You could get away with a lot more. You can't even get close to the field today.
No,
obviously, you know.
No.
I mean, that's not going to happen.
On Fridays, you could go up there to Veterans Memorial and literally just walk in the locker room.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like
you could ride your bike,
crazy.
Throw it down on the sidewalk, walk right into that end zone. They were crappy locker rooms, and you could see all the players.
That's awesome.
That's where I got my first picture with John Bond and autograph in 1980.
There you go.
And then Reggie Collier.
Who?
Yeah.
Was he any good?
No, he was incredible. Maybe, you could argue could have been the most talented quarterback, to come from the state had we
run the right offenses.
Offenses. Absolutely.
Understandable.
Absolutely.
Speaking of offenses.
Hold on. SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Blake?
Speaking of offensive and defensive players, we had a question on the text line, and it does spur me to ask you somewhat of the same thing. When we look ahead to this week, as we are apt to do, and we see Tennessee and Ole Miss a 3-point favorite, what are your expectations for this Ole Miss defense following
I don't have any expectations.
Not great 2 weeks in a row.
I don't have. I didn't buy into all the nonsense after the Louisville, Austin Peay, and Tulane run that this defense had made some kind of major strides. I did think that they would be better than they are. I mean, I didn't think Chance Campbell was a first-team All-American just because he was making tackles against Louisville.
Yeah. But 52 points or 51 points to Arkansas.
To an Arkansas team that still is still trying to figure out what they are on offense, and a very, 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 very raw quarterback who I wish the best. He's from here, and I hope that he continues to develop and improve everything that he's doing. Blake, it'll be a track meet this weekend against Tennessee, and that will continue. Now, they're catching LSU at the right time.
Yeah.
Because LSU has quit. They're done. They're toast. It's over, both for Ed Ogeron and the team. But first things first, at Tennessee, I expect a high-scoring game. And Matt Corral will have – I don't think it's anything different than I thought in August, Blake. Matt Corral will have to carry this team. He has. They're 4-1. They ran into a roadblock, did not play well. I mean, Bama shut them down. That is rare with this offense. But Arkansas had no answer, and I don't think Tennessee will either, Blake. I'm not sure there's a defense left. Maybe Auburn can do a better job than Arkansas and Tennessee and LSU will do.
A&M
and maybe A&M will.
They got to Bryce Young.
They did.
They sacked him, 8 times or something like that? It was a lot.
Elko got a little funky.
They did.
That's the DC for our listeners.
They came
Mike
after
Elko.
Bryce Young and got to him probably more than I've ever seen an Alabama quarterback
I think
get
he just
hit.
said, I'm not going to let him sit back in the pocket and beat us.
Yeah.
I'm just not. So
drop 8 is cute. We're not doing that.
We're going to do some things to make him uncomfortable. He's still young. He and Will Rogers are the same age, and he was on the road, and that was that wasn't his first road test, as Brad Edwards said yesterday. Bryce Young struggled down in Gainesville.
Yep,
and which is understandable. On the road, Gainesville, 100,000 people, and he struggled against A&M. But he wasn't the only one, by the way. There was offensive line issues, and Brad Edwards, before the season, said, look, this Alabama offensive line is not dominant, and there's a lot of question marks, and we saw that on Saturday night, Blake.
I've never seen a QB from Alabama get hit that way in the Saban era. Seriously, I don't remember one getting pressured to that extent in the Saban era.
Yeah. And I got to give Jimbo Fisher, I know this is unheard of. I got to give Jimbo Fisher and his coaching staff credit to get his team back focused and locked in on a good game plan after getting upset by Mississippi State and beating not only the number one team in the country, Blake, but the most according to the recruiting rankings, by far and away the most talented team in the country.
Yeah. Or is
and then when you compound all their 4 and 5 stars over 4 classes, it's unbelievable, right?
Is it what Brad Edwards said that Texas A&M spent the entire year practicing for this one game?
Could have been, and that way they fell to an Arkansas team that's solid, and they fell to a Mississippi State team that's still trying to grow up and find their way. That's a good point, but players aren't dumb. They know if you're not locked into this opponent, but it looks like we're really focusing on this opponent, they're not dumb.
No.
Kids, they're not. I don't care if it's high school, college, definitely the NFL. They know what's going on. And if that was the case, boy, you have to ask yourself today, Blake, was it worth it? Some A&M fans would say, yeah. I mean, that they would take the loss to Arkansas and Mississippi State just to beat Bama. Freeze and Ole Miss did the same thing. There was so much focus and so much booster pressure on Freeze to beat Bama that they dropped weird games to Memphis and Florida when Florida was down and so on, because kids can't. It's impossible. They know what's going on. They can't get up every weekend, period. They can't bring their A game every weekend. And so when you put that much emphasis on one game, you're going to slip somewhere else, right?
I think that's 100% accurate, because there's only, as we like to say about Alabama, is like fans, there's only so much bandwidth, right? So you can only, I guess, be up for so much. So I think the same can be said about Jimbo, and I would think Ross Bjork and the boosters, maybe not to the same level of what happened with Ole Miss, but certainly somewhat close, did that with A&M. You need to beat, Jimbo has put the onus on himself, and I think the A&M family put the onus on Jimbo as well.
And now it's the same thing that was kind of happening in Oxford. Now they're not worried about the losses. They're like, we beat Bama. And they're hanging their hat on everything. We beat Bama. Even though you got 2 losses, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to the Western. You're not going to Atlanta. They
got to win out.
Now they love Jimbo again.
Yep.
There were questions.
He's worth the $10 million.
He got hammered on Texags radio last week.
Yes,
okay?
he did.
I mean, absolutely lit up throughout the week. You lost to Mississippi State. You lost to the Arkansas Razorbacks. We're better than those, although they haven't accomplished any more than MSU or Arkansas the last 25 years.
They have
okay?
not. Nope.
But they're big, and they have a $5 billion endowment. And they have a ton of money, and they raised $500 million in 30 minutes after Johnny Manziel beat Nick Saban and Alabama and Bryant Denny in 2012. They now love him again. And look, they've got some good medicine because they'll be down this week from that high beating Bama, but they play Missouri. And Missouri,
who gave up 35
couldn't beat
to North
Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College.
Missouri just gave up 35 points to North Texas.
Right.
Yeehaw,
and they had
baby.
to squeak out that game.
Yep.
So, A&M could rip off. They're going to rip off, we think, 2 wins, Missouri and South Carolina, who are bad football teams.
Yep.
And then they get to take a break and get to see what they're going to do with Auburn and then Ole Miss.
Yeah. And LSU.
And I can't wait to see how this March goes from here on out. Everybody's beat up. Everybody's hurt. It's a battle of attrition. And guys are just, unfortunately, dropping left and right. And the question is, as you march through October and players feel terrible, they're either out or their bodies feel awful. And as you march through here and into November, and you've got all these physical games left. This is the difference between the SEC's physicality index and the ACC's and the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. It doesn't ever lighten up. And, in fact, it only gets, well, to be honest, worse. And look at this weekend. Last week's schedule was awesome. This week's schedule is unbelievable. Bama at Mississippi State. Auburn at Arkansas. Florida at LSU. Ole Miss at Tennessee, and Kentucky at Georgia.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's a huge slate of games.
And Vandy at South Carolina.
That's the Jefferson Pilot game of the week.
What is the over-under on how many people watch that game? 304?
What will there be more points scored or people watching?
Ooh. No. Let's ask this question. Will Vanderbilt score this weekend? They've been goose-egged. What, is it 2 weeks in a row or 3?
No, they had the UConn game in between there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They scored a bunch of points and won that game.
Yeah.
You're right.
You say a bunch. It was like in the 20s, but yeah.
Well, that's a bunch for Vandy.
It surpassed their season total to that point.
Does Vandy score at South Carolina this weekend?
I got to say yes.
Okay, you're going yeah.
Vanderbilt. All right, so Vanderbilt has played 6 games. Can you guess how many points they've scored total through 6 games?
38.
80. They're
Really?
2-4. They're 2-4.
Okay.
They've scored 80 points. They've given up 217.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Well, they're 130th of 130 in points per game scored. They're dead last.
They're dead last?
They're literally dead last.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, if you're going to go
big.
all the way.
Go big or go home, baby.
Go all the way. Just say, we don't want to go to the red zone. We do not.
The what?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
Exactly. We do not believe.
Nick. Nick said Steve Urkel scores more than Vandy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's so good.
How do you think this plays out for Mississippi State this weekend? Do you get a mad focused Alabama that's more on there? Now, Bama's played some physical games this year. Florida, Ole Miss, and A&M. Like, they had to get up, and so on. And they obviously were not interested in A&M. That's not a shot against A&M. Kudos to A&M for beating them. But they thought they would just go in and win and leave. And then it because A&M lost to Mississippi State, you know what Alabama thought.
Yeah.
This will be a layup.
Easy dub.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Out of Bounds, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. So Bama's gotten up for Florida, Ole Miss, and A&M. And now they go to Starkville.
They're 17 to 16.5 point favorites are the Crimson Tide.
Okay.
That's a great question. What do you think this Alabama team is? Because this is the answer week, right?
Go ahead.
Like this is the week where you answer, are they so young and inexperienced that they don't know how to revert to the Saban standard? Or because we've seen this in the past, in the 12 years that he's been there,
they
13 years,
usually lose a game.
and then they come right back out and run on an 8-game winning streak, and they're right back in the playoff discussion or BCS title discussion, whatever it might have been. Is that the type of team they have this year, or are they going to be more, even for Alabama standards, are they going to be more week to week in how they perform? Because they're young, because they're inexperienced.
That's a good question.
Like, they've usually had veteran leaders who knew how to wake up, so to speak.
Well,
when
Will
something went
Anderson
wrong.
was very vocal yesterday, talking to the media. He's their defensive leader.
Yes.
He's a phenomenal football player.
Probably
He's a
team
heck of a
leader.
leader.
Probably team
Yeah,
leader. Yeah,
no doubt. He is the guy. He's the voice. Bryce is not the voice yet. He may be at some point, but Bryce Young, their quarterback, for our listeners, is not the guy right now. Will Rogers had to take that even last year and be the voice of the Mississippi State football team. They didn't have a dude that had enough alpha in him that was older, really, to maybe a little bit of Errol Thompson. But Will took over the team even as a true freshman. He's definitely the voice this year as a true sophomore. We all know Matt Corral, who's a fourth-year player, is the voice for Ole Miss. I think that's what's lacking, Blake, in a lot of these play. I mean, who is Auburn's? Who is LSU? I mean, LSU has, they're in disarray.
They're done.
Dysfunctional. Ogeron's done. We're going to have a new coach at LSU. That's actually not good for State and Ole Miss. And MSU left a great opportunity out there at Davis Wade to beat them, but it is what it is. I guess you kind of made up for it against A&M.
But you never get those games back, like we've talked about.
But you should have lost to La Tech, so I could play this game all year. The Memphis, La Tech, whatever. And so, A&M. They don't really have one either. I mean, I know Calzada played a wonderful game, but he was just inserted as the starter. So when you look around, you kind of ask the question, I mean, is Emory Jones really leading that team at Florida yet?
Doesn't feel
Probably
like it,
not, right? I mean, is who is it at Georgia? Is it Stetson Bennett the fourth or JT Daniels? It's been kind of a musical chairs there at the quarterback position for 2 years, depending on if JT Daniels is healthy or not. And Stetson Bennett the fourth has grabbed a bunch of starts.
It feels like he's the one with more moxie, doesn't it?
It does.
Stetson.
Did you just say Moxie
I did.
and Stetson Bennett the fourth?
Yeah. No, yeah.
We're gonna buy some ranch dressing today.
Accurate.
Okay. All right.
But don't you agree? Stetson has the more. I hate this word in football. Stetson's the gamer.
Oh,
isn't he though? Is it
You
like
said gamer?
Like if you're telling me if I'm Georgia and I need one player to win at this point, I don't know that I'm not taking Stetson over JT.
Brad Edwards said he would question whether Kirby Smart should insert JT Daniels back in as the starter once he gets healthy because it sure looks like, I cannot believe I'm saying this,
I know,
that Stetson Bennett the fourth has command of this offense.
Isn't that wild?
Well, you just said gamer, and I just said command,
Yeah.
and you just said Moxie. So this is very wild right now.
Yeah, we're locked and loaded on a Taco Tuesday.
On a Taco Tuesday brought to you by Modelo. Mike Detillier at 8:30. Mike D at 8:30. Mike Detillier will join us at 8:30 on the Modelo guest line. And Nick Fulton with USA Pawn celebrating their 30th anniversary will come in and make Bloody Marys at 9:15 and give away a couple of tickets to the Alabama Hail State game in Starkville, 6 o'clock, Davis Wade Stadium, Saturday night, and their club level seats. So how about that? MSU kicks off at 6, and Ole Miss kicks off at 6:30 our time. It'll be 7:30 where Ole Miss is in Neyland Stadium. Knoxville, Tennessee, baby. 2 big games. Can Mississippi State keep this thing within a possession in the first half? I think that's the question. Can they keep it within a possession and Bama gets tired of you? And it just keeps going and going. Because if you allow them to do what they did against Florida or Ole Miss and, get up on you 21, it's over. Hour number 1 in the books. Mike Detillier at 8:30.